Afambo Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Abụ onye ọkaikpe dị na-anọchite anya Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, onye nke ndị Nigeria kpọrọ wee debe na ụlọ mkpọrọ ndị State Security Service. Anyị wee na-ekwu na anyị edega akwụkwọ a na-akpọ leta anyị dejelu Attorney General of the Federation Chief Fagbemi SAN ka ọ neba anya n'okwu Nnamdi Kanu, maka o nwere oge o kwuru oge a na-eme nlote ofu arọ Bola Ahmed Tinubu bụ president anyị ka o kwuru na o nwere nwere ihe ama maka Nnamdi Kanu, and ọ bụrụ na o nwere ihe ama na court ka ọ dọrọ iwepụta Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Anyị wee na-agwa ya na ya enwetago judgments of court. Court ekpebiela ma nke nọ na Abuja, ma nke nọ na Aba, ma nke nọ na Ụmụahịa, ma nke nọ na Enugu, ma nke a na-akpọ international court, ya court mba zuru mba ekwugosi sirapụ Mazi Nnamdi Kanu na o nwere ihe o mere, na gọọmenti Naijiria kwesịrị ịyọ Mazi Nnamdi Kanu mgbaghara, yọcha ya mgbaghara, kwụọ ya ụgwọ maka mkpọchi ha kpọchiri ya, maka ndị ha ga-na-abịa ga-egbusisi mmadụ 28 ha ga ebe a gbuo, kwụọ ya ụgwọ maka ihe ha mebisiri ya, ọ ihe ha kwesịrị ime. So onye ka anyị na-asị ka Attorney General fụ maka ndị na-ahụ ya okwu agwara ya eziokwu, ha akọwara ihe ọfụma. Anyị wee sị ka anyị wetara n'ihe a ka anyị gosi ya, ọ bụrụ na o nwere ihe ha na-ezo ezo ka anyị tụọ anyị gbaa ya n'anwụ. Ọ judgments a niile dị ihe a, nke High Court Aba, nke Federal High Court Aba Ụmụahịa, nke Enugu High Court, ha nche niile dị ebe a. Nke mekwupụta Enugu High Court na okwu ha kpebere gbasara isi Mazi Nnamdi Kanu na Federal Government of Nigeria kwuru si na Mazi Nnamdi Kanu na o nwere ihe o mere, na ekwesịrị ịkwụ ya ụgwọ, na ekwesịkwara na IPOB ndị Federal High Court Abuja kwuru na ha bụ nzukọ ndị na-emebisi ihe a na-akpọ terrorist, nọọ asị ka ọ bụ. Nke a bụ kọtụ na-ekwu ya, and kọtụ nke a kwuru ya nwere ụdị pawa, ụdị ikikere Federal High Court a nwere ka ha nwekwu, o nwere ha karịa ibe ha. Anụ nke a kwuru ikpeazụ bụ nke Enugu kwuru ya, a na-akpọ ikpe ya ikpeazụ, ọ bụ n'oyibo kwuo letter in time. So nke ahụ kwuru ikpeazụ, ọ bụ nọọsụ sobe otu esi eme ihe n'ụzọ ikpe, ọ nke ahụ ka onye ọ na-kwesịrị na-eso.
My conscious ladies and gentlemen, lovers of freedom, dignity, and justice, the hour here is exactly 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, being the 28th of November 2025 in the year of our Lord. I say good evening to you, good morning, and good afternoon to you, depending on the time zone you are listening to me from. And thank you for answering my call and being here. I will keep this within 45 minutes or at most 60 minutes. But I will also endeavor to update you as much as I can going forward. My name is Uche Chigeme Anyawotutuni Okukana, and by the special grace of God, I work as a transformational life coach and advocate for human dignity and consciousness. And I will speak to you through the lens of consciousness. Through this lens, I will address why Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's current detention location is unsafe and the urgent need for his immediate transfer to a secure and accessible facility. How global voices and institutions can intervene as we intensify our conscience-based appeal, message grounded in justice and humanity to His Holiness, the Pope, the EU, that is the European Union, the United States government, and the international human rights law. And we will also address the advancing the journey of our people's liberation, and finally the quality of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's legal team. Before I proceed, I want to thank every voice that has risen in condemnation, calling out the unjust conviction of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu far and wide, from every non-Nigerian, Nigerian at home and abroad. I deeply appreciate every hand across the world that has written against this injustice. Thank you. Thank you. Tonight, I come before you not simply as a wife yearning for her husband's freedom from unjust conviction, nor as a mother hoping to lift the weight from her children scattered across the four corners of the earth and from generations yet to come. I stand here as a voice for justice itself and for consciousness. A wife whose husband's life is in danger. A wife whose family has been denied access, dignity, and safety. A wife who refuses to be silent while injustice is dressed up as law. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. He is a husband. He is a father. He is a son, a brother, a friend, and above all, a human being. I speak not only to Nigerians, Biafrans, or a specific group, but I speak to the conscience of the world. As we know, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been unjustly convicted and transferred to Sokoto prison, a detention location that exposes him to severe security risks. This relocation is not neutral or safe. It places his life in danger. And the key reasons I believe that Sokoto is seen as unsafe are based on security risks. Apart from the concern on distance from his legal team and family, Sokoto prison was described as a protective facility by Omotosho after Abuja's Kuje prison was deemed unsafe due to past prison breaks. However, eyewitnesses reported unusual military presence and heavy security around the Sokoto Custodial Center, which has been interpreted as evidence of heightened danger. I also look at the step of isolation and secrecy. His transfer was carried out quietly, with officials refusing to confirm details of his exact location. Activists like Omoyele Sowore and myself criticized the secrecy, saying it increases the risk of mistreatment. Another step is the political and ethnic tension. Sokoto is in Nigeria's far north, a region with strong cultural and political differences from Igbo Base in the southeast. Placing him there is not only punitive, but also exposes him to hostility in an environment far removed from a central access point. And do not forget the heavy presence of terrorists who are currently pillaging the peace and lives of people are there. Another step is his health. I have the health concerns, or I have the concerns for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's health. Most importantly, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu requires special medical care. His heart is deteriorating. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has heart issues. Hence, moving him to Sokoto was a veiled plot to deny him access to his personal physicians and proper medication, which endangers his life. In summary, Sokoto is seen as unsafe for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and we believe the relocation increases the risk to his life and undermines his right to fair trial and medical care. And as his wife, I am asking a simple, moral, and lawful question. How can any government justify placing a non-violent prisoner in an environment where his safety cannot be guaranteed, and where his family and legal team are effectively stifled? I am calling respectfully, but firmly, for his immediate transfer to a secure facility where his life is not at risk. His family can access him, his doctors can access him, his legal rights are respected, and human dignity is upheld. I move on to the global voices and the institutions that can help play a decisive role in pressing for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's safety and release, and the release of all our brothers and sisters still held in various prisons, hidden away in various prisons. The key is to intensify the mobilization of international advocacy campaigns, diplomatic pressure, and human rights mechanisms that Nigeria cannot easily ignore. Human rights such as United Nations Working Group that issue opinions and African Union. Recall, do not forget that the United Nations Human Rights Council and Working Group on Arbitrary Detention investigated Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case and issued their opinion declaring his kidnap unlawful. But the Nigerian government ignored that. That is one of the pointers that the government has already determined on the fate of a man who speaks truth to power. Neither did the UK government work with that. They completely ignored that. Most importantly, diplomatic pressure to go on foreign governments. The UK, EU, and the United States can raise his case in bilateral talks, conditioning aid or cooperation on Nigeria's respect for human rights. Another is the global civil society and faith leaders, churches and religious leaders, such as the Pope of the Papal State of the Vatican, World Council of Churches, and African bishops, such as Bishop Mike, one who has already begun. He was on AIT today, or speaking about his visit, or narrating his visit to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Another is the NGOs and advocacy groups, such as Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and Christian Solidarity Worldwide, can also amplify reports of mistreatment, mobilizing global campaigns. The diaspora networks, legal and judicial avenues. We can look at the international court. Though Nigeria is not under the jurisdiction of the ICC for this case, but petitions can still be filed to highlight crimes against humanity if persecution is proven. Every lawyer within the consciousness of the travesty of justice by Omotosho must flood in petitions against him via the appropriate channels. We also have the regional court, where we can go through to the ECOWAS Court of Justice. The ECOWAS Court of Justice has jurisdiction over human rights violation, even though they have previously ruled against Nigeria in similar detention cases for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as well, but nothing has been done. We also need to look at the global media coverage and public opinions, very importantly. Silence in the face of injustice is participation. It is not neutrality, it is participation, it is complicity. History has taught us that when the world looks away, suffering deepens, but when conscience speaks, change becomes possible. just as the United States government's consciousness has been raised. I have sent a letter to President Trump thanking him for condemning the killings of Christians in Nigeria, and you can also watch my broadcast on that. That reminds me, wishing a happy Thanksgiving to our people in the United States, even if a little belated. And thanking our brothers over there, Mazi Evans Nwankwo and Mazi Ben, the Nwankwo brothers. They have been doing a lot, pushing a lot, and we can see how much they are pushing for our people, as well as for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. This broadcast is my plea, not for privilege, favoritism, or power, but for protection, fairness, and life. To every person listening to me tonight, please, your voice, our witness, and conscience matters. Stand with me, not for one man alone, not just for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but for the principle that no human should be placed in harm's way by the state meant to protect life. And to the Department of State Services, the Nigeria Police Force, and all security agencies of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, this is a call for transparency and humanity across detention facilities in the country, in Nigeria. Across these detention facilities in Nigeria, men and women are being held for months and years without trial. This is disheartening. Many are said to be members of IPOB. How do you know? How can you prove that all of these people are IPOB members? Even if they are indigenous people of Biafra. Some are not members of IPOB, yet they remain locked away without due process, access, or even hope. Some are sick and many are dying. Many have died. And this is heartbreaking that some families do not even know where you have kept their people, their sons and their daughters. This inhumane treatment by security must cease. Security must not come at the cost of human life. That is fact. If there is no charge, please release them. If there is no trial, please let them go. If there is no evidence, please release them. Many of these men and women are sons and daughters. They are fathers and mothers. They are breadwinners and helpers, and above all, they are loved. Some were simply taken from their homes, some whilst they were sleeping at night. Some were arrested at checkpoints. Some were wrongly labeled and forgotten, keys thrown away. Not everyone in your custody is a criminal or guilty, or even a member of IPOB. Therefore, I appeal to your conscience. Release them so they can breathe and heal, that they may return to their families. May compassion guide our actions, so that tomorrow we shall stand before history without shame. Now to our people's liberation. I want to maintain the timing to see if I can finish within 45 minutes. Like I said, 60 minutes at most. As we chart our peaceful path forward for the indigenous people of Biafra, there are steps to follow. First, we want to emphasize that our path forward is through non-violent means, as it has always been. one of the main steps we are proposing is to rally support for a referendum. This referendum will be our peaceful way of voicing the desire for a Biafran state. Second, we need to engage in community education. That means informing our people about what a referendum entails and how it can be a legitimate and recognized process. Third, we are going to focus on building alliances with international organizations and human rights groups. By doing this, we can gain broader support and ensure that our efforts are seen on a global stage. So as we move forward, let's commit to these steps: pushing for a peaceful referendum, 1, educating our community, 2, and building those crucial alliances. And as part of this educational rollout, I am excited to announce that in the week commencing the 13th of April 2026, we, the women of the IPOB and all women of Biafran descent, will be holding a conference at the United Nations. This gathering is open to every woman who is a lover of freedom and consciousness. You don't have to be a member of IPOB. It is a chance for us to understand and highlight the vital role women play in our society and in the world at large, and intensify our campaign as a people. So as we focus on a peaceful referendum and building global alliances, this conference will be a cornerstone in educating and empowering our community, especially our women. We invite you all to join us and be part of this important, very important program. More updates on campaigns, protests, and strategies will be announced as we progress by the DOS. It is all about continuous improvement. Every single step that we take in life, every path that we toe in life should be continuous improvement patterned, where we run gap analysis, where we look at how we have gone through the path that we have set in the beginning of our journey, how far we have gone, how well we have done, what we need to do better, and what we need to add. And then the implementations. Now, on the issue of the quality of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's legal team, while we have the opportunity for our appeal, we must ensure that the ground is fertile by anchoring our actions in an appropriate political solution. As we know, Justice Omotosho of the High Court foreclosed Onyendu's final written address, where he would have addressed the persecution's evidence against him. And that explains the outrage that followed. Justice Omotosho told Onyendu to write his final address, which he would look at on the day of the judgment. And on that day, he foreclosed it. He did not allow Onyendu to tender his final written address. And that, I believe, could have outraged anyone else. It could have been anybody. We also recognize that this outcome aligns with the manner in which the Nigerian government intended the process to unfold. However, it is equally clear that some of these consequences could have been avoided. I mentioned this on the very day of that conviction, that we could have averted some of these consequences. They could have been avoided had there been greater fidelity to due process and purity of form. Nevertheless, we will petition Justice Omotosho to the highest possible authorities. This effort is further strengthened by the concerns already raised by lawyers who have highlighted his apparent impunity and called for formal accountability. It is very, very pivotal. In fact, it is important, or actually it is better to adjudicate within the bounds of justice and allow the government to lawfully exercise its authority in retaining custody of the prisoner than to permit actions that undermine due process and expose these irregularities to the scrutiny of the global community. What I'm trying to say is that what Omotosho or any judge could have done is do their diligent job, or do their job diligently within the light of justice, and give the judgment as it should have been, and then allow the Nigerian government to as they have always done, keep Onyendu where they wanted to keep him, but at least let the judgment be in the light of justice. But that did not happen, and Omotosho must face the consequence of what he heaved upon himself. On the issues of updates, I have restrained myself several times solely because Onyendu asked me to do so. That is before he was taken away and moved to Sokoto. However, given the current situation, I believe I owe it to the world to speak openly. There is overwhelming concern, both home and abroad, regarding Onyendu's legal team. People constantly reach out to me, asking me whether certain reports they read on social media are true. My simple answer, my honest response, has often been that I do not know, simply because no one is updating me. Since my husband was transferred to Sokoto, the conduct of some of his legal team has been highly unprofessional and uncivilized. I believe I owe this openness to the people because both Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and I belong to the people. I have a legal right to take a step to ensure that I secure the release of my husband. But first, I want the world to ask Barrister Aloy Ejimako why he does not give me updates. On the 17th of July, 2024, I asked him why I was not informed about my husband's health situation and why I had to learn from the social media platform that my husband had passed out. The response I got hit me. His response was that he did not want to upset me. By speaking to me, claiming that I do not like him. I asked him where that notion came from. How is it that I don't like you? Where is that coming from? And he referred me to messages from 2021. He said to me, I do not delete my messages. You can go and check in 2020. And I don't remember ever telling Aloy that I do not like him. So I told him clearly that I do not have time for petty behavior. Since he claimed he does not delete his chat, I asked him to screenshot the alleged message and send it to me. Otherwise, I requested that he simply do his duty by updating me after visiting my husband. Mind you, he never did. Up till today. Furthermore, in August 2024, Nnamdi Kanu and I visited my husband on 5 different occasions. Not once, even though I think Onyendu would tell him that we are coming and he will put our name across to the DSS. Not once during those visits did I see Barrister Aloy, because I had wanted to complain about him in his presence. I wanted to complain to Onyendu in his presence, but he was never present. He didn't come. He didn't visit. We did not see him. So I informed Onyendu of this, and Onyendu assured me that he would ensure I received updates through another lawyer. But since Onyendu was transferred to Sokoto, I have neither heard from nor received any update from him, who claimed to be running errands for my husband. At this point, I would like to briefly recount how Barrister Joffer came to be involved in this case. I also get a lot of buzz and calls and some insults why Barrister Joffer was taken out and all sorts. All of that are out there in the open. It's important that we try to inquire or reference previous broadcasts that I have been on. It is a slight digression, but it is very important. In 2015, while I was pregnant, Onyendu was taken. I nearly miscarried that pregnancy. So when Onyendu was taken, Uche Mefo brought in his friend called Obeta. And my mother-in-law brought, I can't remember his name now, another lawyer. So we were in communication, and I said to Obeta that my mother-in-law brought a lawyer and that I would like him to wait for the lawyer. In fact, I told the lawyer that my mother-in-law brought to wait for Obeta that he's yet to arrive at Abuja. Because I like to work in uniform. I don't like to work in silos. Part of my job is to identify where there are silos and bridge the gap by creating cross-functional departments or cross-functional flow between departments. So I understand the power in teamwork, and I always stand on teamwork, regardless whether I like you or not. Most of you here, you go to work. Some of you don't like your managers. Some of you don't like your colleagues, but you have to produce a report. Perhaps you two have to work together, or you have to submit a report to someone you don't like. You have to do it anyway, because you are there to attain a goal. So regardless whether you like that person or not, that job must be done, or you'll be sacked. So Ebule got connected. I can't remember the barrister's name. It keeps flying off now. He got in contact and met with Obeta. And whilst that was going on, Barrister Gabriel Ebule contacted me, saying that he spoke with Onyendu. He saw Onyendu, that the DSS brought Onyendu to court. They were trying to convict him that same day. But Ebule walked up to Onyendu and said, I think I know you. So Onyendu said to him, can you defend me? And he said yes. And he got a bail right there for Onyendu that same day. So Onyendu said to him, you will contact my wife, tell her that I have been given a bail, this, that. So when Ebule contacted me, I said to him that Obeta is on his way, and the lawyer that my mother-in-law brought was also on his way. So the three of them can meet and work together. And absolutely all I wanted was my husband to be released, safe, and unharmed. Even though Ebule got a bail for Onyendu, the DSS continues to hold him. That is not a new story. They always do that. So as I coordinated all three of them, because I believe strongly in the power of teamwork, Obeta said he was visiting my village. So after that visitation, he stopped giving me updates. Obeta stopped giving me updates and began speaking to me in a disparaging and unprofessional manner. As a result, I asked him to step aside. He later apologized, claiming he had been misled by my in-laws. That was what he said. I don't know, and I didn't care to know, and I did not want to listen to what he had to say. I told him clearly that he had crossed the line and that I no longer wanted him involved. I made it clear that I did not care what he was told and did not want to know. But that made him to even be more mad at me. He was mad at me. But I took the matter to the then DOS, headed by Mazi Nnamdi. They eventually understood the game Obeta was playing and upheld the decision that he should step aside. To cut the long story short, I sent my father. He went round and he found another barrister who you know today as Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor, to whom I gave power of attorney, and that marked the beginning of the real legal battle. I want it publicly stated that because I brought in a lawyer, I was disowned by my husband's family and IPOB. I was in it on, I think, some newspaper or The Guardian. I can't remember which one exactly, but some people have the link or the link to that. Please, can you share that link? Where I was humiliated and insulted, a pregnant woman going insane, running and fighting for the safety of her husband. There was a newspaper publication that I have been disowned by Uchemefo and the rest of them and IPOB because I got a new lawyer. So imagine what I went through at that time. A lot of people do not know my story because I am always a very quiet person. But I think it is high time that anything that bothers me, because currently I am unwell. I have just had a major surgery and I have not even healed. I can't even heal properly because I am having to face all of these situations and circumstances all by myself, raising a young, vibrant 9-year-old boy on my own. I have never had any heart problem. I have never had any heart or high blood pressure, regardless everything that I have gone through in life. But recently, I am beginning to have that, and that is not a joke. Therefore, any single tiny bit of stress, I will bring it to the people so they can help me and address it before I lose my life. And when I lose my life, there is nobody to look after Nabi Kem. So for the state of my mental health, I have to be as careful as I can be. I will stop there for now. But what I want Barrister Aloy to tell me is if he sees Obeta anywhere around here. As he continues to disrespect and disregard me, so shall it be unto him. I do not care what you are told. I do not care what you want to know or what it is you know. You do not need me to like you, nor do I need you to like me. You are here to do a job. Simply do your job professionally and all will be well between us, as Barrister Ejiofor did. Had there been unity among the DOS and the legal team, the murderous terrorists in Finland called Simon Ekpa, this is the first time I am mentioning that midget's name, would not have killed our people. The crimes committed by that boy and his so-called government in exile and liberation mad army was used to pass judgment against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I hope you heard this directly from the bishop who visited Onyendu, Bishop Ike Egwono. You were all warned that this boy was sent to indict Onyendu on behalf of the government. Now, where are all of them? Some blindly followed him, shouting and using an imbecilic slang, woko woko woto woto. They call themselves several names, automated fools, automated what? Automated pilots, something like that. Now, where are they? If the DOS had not stood firm, upholding the legacy of IPOB and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as structured by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, we would have been singing a song of pain and agony today. The world would have been looking at IPOB as a terrorist organization. Wow, someone had infiltrated the very people who are meant to serve justice, to uphold it and recognize it when they see it. In my next teaching, I will address people who sabotage freedom fighting movements and what usually happens to them in many forms across history and contexts, not just freedom fighting, but in other areas of life. Before I leave you tonight, I want to speak not to institutions, not to government, but to human conscience. When history looks back at moments like this, it is not, or it will not ask who was powerful. It will not ask who was more braggadocious. It will ask who was humane and who chose courage over silence. To those planning to leave IPOB because Onyendu is incarcerated, shame on you. You came to behold Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and have chosen to abandon him now that he needs you most. Now that you must stand and uphold IPOB by whatever means, men of fickle minds. That is what you are. If that is why you're leaving IPOB, this is the time for you to stand. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is not asking for special treatment. He is asking for life. He is asking for justice and for safety. He's asking for the basic dignity guaranteed to every human being under international law and moral order. And as his wife, I carry a weight no document can capture. The knowledge that the place where he is held today places his life in danger. And so tonight, with clarity and resolve, I say this. A government does not lose authority by protecting life. It loses legitimacy when it endangers it. To the international community, this is not a distant story. It is out there. Everyone is on top of it. You can see the travesty of justice. You can see the manipulation. You can see the law upon which Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was tried. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu had the right to be shown the law upon which he was tried. But Omotosho refused that. To the faith leaders, if the sanctity of life is sacred, then it must be defended, even when it is inconvenient. To humanitarian institutions, your mandate exists for moments exactly like this. And to every ordinary human being listening to me now, you may not wear a title, but you carry something greater, a conscience. Please use it to speak. Use it to share this message and demand accountability. Stand gently but firmly for what is right. And I believe deeply that justice is not defeated. It is only delayed. I believe that no prison wall is stronger than truth. No silence louder than conscience. And injustice, no injustice can last eternal when humanity refuses to look away. So tonight I place this appeal into the hands of the world, not with bitterness. I don't have any hatred. Through the power of yin and yang, I can understand where people come from, where things happen. But the most important step is the step that we take to make it better, to reflect and turn around. May history record that when a life was endangered, the world chose to listen. I thank every Nigerian who is writing and speaking and pushing and pointing to this injustice. Thank you for our people who have stood their ground and stand for that which they believe in. Thank you, everyone. As I said, I will endeavor to continue, I will endeavor to bring updates, next campaign, whatever it is that we need to roll out, any step we need to roll out, that will be channeled through the appropriate source, the DOS and the rest of the leadership. They will have that sorted. Thank you, everyone, for standing with me to choose for life and justice. What we do right now will be our legacy, for we will look on this moment, or for when we look on this moment. In the future, when we look back and see this moment, it will either fill us with great pride or great shame. And I pray we do not take the path that will fill us with great shame. Rather, let us take the path that will fill us with great pride.
Spend between 10 and 15 minutes to address it. The dictionary defines genocide as, because I knew you were going to ask, so I got ready for you. The dictionary defines genocide as a deliberate and systematic killing or persecution of a large number of people from a particular national or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group of people. And with that definition, I'm going to turn my answers to a question or questions to the majority of you who are here today. Let me give my responsive background. I was born in 1952 in Zaria. I was born in the military barracks. I grew up in Kaduna, Zaria, Kaduna, Kanu. So my answer does not come out of just newspaper, but experience. The first riot I ever experienced, with all due respect, was against people from the East. I was there during the Zaria riots when your crime was that you were Igbo. They didn't tell me, I saw it. People were being killed right before my eyes. My dad was a soldier trying to prevent it. And I remember the man coming back with a deep dent in his military helmet as the guys were screaming and walking the roads of Zaria and screaming, Tawaye. Tawaye means our eyes have opened. Following the first coup by Kaduna and Zogu, they felt their eyes had opened. So, there certainly was genocide because people were being dragged out of their house and killed. But then when it comes to the hot case on hand, is there religious genocide in Nigeria? Firstly, I'd like to say that whatever issue is in Nigeria, because it was not dealt with, it became a snake with 5 heads or more heads. And so when you are looking at each case, you need to know which head you are dealing with. Bandit is a head. Banditry is a head. Terrorism is a head. Fulani herdsmen carrying guns and invading people's farm, chasing them out, is another head. The guys who demand money, what did they call them? Kidnappers is a head, and there are many more heads. And then deliberate chasing of people away from their land and immediately putting another tribe there is a head. So, are these things happening in Nigeria or not? I'll just take you down some historical cases and I'll ask you, is it really happening in Nigeria? Maitasine in the 70s, a man who rose and began to teach a form of Islamic cleansing that says anybody who was not of that particular belief must die. Is that not genocide? And is that fair in a secular nation? Zango Kataf. Zango Kataf, in case you don't know, what you know as Kaduna State was once including Katsina. And on grounds of religion, Katsina State was cut off because the majority of Katsina State was Islamic. And what remained as Kaduna State was majority what we call Southern Kaduna, Zango Katav, people who are and so on and so forth. I don't want to mention all the tribes. And despite cutting and now having Kaduna State, the south of Kaduna State is 99% Christian, producing Professor Ishaya Audu, first Vice Chancellor Amadu Bello, producing General Ishaya Bameyi, producing former Deputy Governor Central Bank Melafia. But somebody was still not satisfied and wanted their land. And particularly under the watch of a particular governor, probably 23,000 of these people died. Is it so? Is it not so? And if people of that number die, I mean, Zangu Kata, people were being hacked, cut like animals because you wanted their land and because they didn't follow your religion. Is that genocide or not? There was beheading in Kano because, what's the name of the evangelist? Reinhard Bonnke came to hold a crusade, and they said, Christian crusade is not allowed. Not only did they destroy the equipment, they cut Christians. Is that genocide or not? Deborah Samuel, a girl in a polytechnic in Nigeria, in the north, she saw on the platform of her class that people were posting religious, and she said, hey, this platform is for our study, not for religion. They went, they killed her, and when it became a court case, 52 barristers who hold the religious faith different from hers showed up to defend the guys who killed her. Is that genocide or not? Evangelist Eunice in Greater Abuja went out 5 a.m. to do what we used to do down south here. And when we were kids, I was born a Muslim. My name is Ahmed. My mother is Aishat. My brother is Mudashir. My sister is Khadijat. My dad is Salau. But we knew people who would wake up and be waking people to prayer. That was what Evangelist Eunice did, and they hacked her to death. And then, if all that is not genocide, and if it is just religious intolerance, what happened when Melafia came out and said, I am from southern Kaduna, and 23,000 of our people died, and actually when we call people who should come and defend them, the military, the police, they don't show. It is after the people are gone that they show. And they say they have it on good record that some mysterious helicopters are coming to give these people equipment. Is that not a plan at genocide? If you say that is not genocide, what shall we say of what's going on in particularly states in the north that are of Christian conviction? Benue State, even today's Vanguard reports Kwande local government, where people were hacked, and the plan is to chase them out, and some people come to occupy. And when I say some people, let me be bold to say Fulani herdsmen and some of the guys carrying gun come to occupy because and I was a little kid. One of the songs on radio in the north will say, Babanka Sanshe will dump with you. That song says that the whole of Nigeria is the land belonging to Shehu Damfodio. And until that is achieved, they've reached Kwara. It may be Lagos. So somebody somewhere does not want this kind of facing the reality. Is there a genocide? You will have to answer. I haven't answered any of your question yet. But let me just say, 270 girls were carried out of a school. They were all Christians. The people who carried them committed 5 crimes. 1, child molestation, because Nigeria's criminal law says that if you sleep with anyone under, is he 18? Which is the age of consent. It's a crime. They raped these girls. 2, if you carry a person against their will across border, it's trafficking. I thought we have human trafficking laws. 3, you force these people to change religion. 4, you force them into marriage. That is the 4th criminal offense. 5, some of them were violently raped. And then 6, some of them were killed. The same people who committed this crime, you said you forgave them. Who forgave them? Where were they forgiven? Which court of law? Is it the government that said, okay, we suspend the criminal laws of Nigeria in the case of Boko Haram, who carried this girl, whatever of the Hydra heads carried the girls? Who did it? So, if you now say you forgave them, where are they? It is rumored that some of them are now repented and you brought them into the army. How can a man who killed and committed all this crime now qualify to be a defender of the nation? It is rumored that some of them are in the Air Force. How can a man like that defend the Federal Republic of Nigeria? How can we entrust him in the country where I live at the moment, in England? If you touch a child, you know rape and more, you touch a child in an indecent way, you will be in the register of child molesters. And the moment you change local government from one local government to the other, you must go and report yourself as a child molester so you can be on the books of child molesters. Once the court have passed a case against you that you molested, anytime you move, you don't need the police to do it. You have to go and report yourself. There are jobs you cannot get. But in our own case, we said these guys are forgiven. 1, who forgave? 2, where were they forgiven? 3, where did we see their repentance? 4, where is the fruit of their repentance? So, we cannot say that there is no genocide. But if we say there is no genocide, answer my questions. 2, we cannot say there is no religious intolerance. If you say there is no religious intolerance, explain to